Okay, so today we're going to paint a dandelion in acrylic paint. These are the materials you'll need. So you need acrylic paint, white, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, sap green, acrylic brushes, paper plate, water, acrylic paper, canvas card and tape. And you can see I've got some acrylic paper here and I've taped it down. I've got my palette set up here. This is the sap green, cadmium yellow, white, and we're just going to stick with those colours for today. And I've got 2 pots of water, one for cleaning my brushes off and one for mixing my colours, and then I've got a selection of acrylic brushes. I've also gone out and picked a dandelion. Okay, so let's start. I'm using a square brush here at the moment, so I'm going to use a little bit of the yellow, yellow acrylic, and I'm going to mix a tiny bit of the green with it just to make it very light. Mix it well. You can see it's collecting on the top part of my brush here. You might need a lot. Try not to use too much water. Water actually prevents you from being able to paint well in acrylic. So as long as the tubes are newish and not too old, you should be able to paint with your paints without adding too much water to mix them down. All the water does is it makes it thin, and it means that then you have to paint multiple layers rather than a single layer of paint. So there we have our stem, slightly narrower at the top than it is at the bottom. Okay, and it's a pale green colour. The stem does have light and dark sections to it. So we're imagining that the light is coming from the right hand side. So the source of light is coming from this direction. And I'm just going to add a little bit of white into that green that I mixed. And I'm just going to put it along the edge on the right hand side. Just a touch. You don't really need to do much, but it will give it a little bit of shape. And in the same way, you just need to take something that will darken up your yellow. So I've got some yellow ochre here that I can use. This paint is already drying off on me. It's really quite warm in my studio here, and that does have a huge impact on the drying time of your paint. One of the most frustrating things about acrylic is that it dries so quickly and you can't blend it very easily. So I've just put a slightly darker tone of yellow along that left hand side there. Okay, I'm just going to wash my brush off, and I've got some paper towel just to get rid of the excess water because I don't want too much water in my paint. And then clean water into the cadmium yellow, and again make sure it's nicely mixed. Add some water if you need it, but like I said, the less water the better. And then we're going to paint some of our petals. So if you start by painting upwards like this and just in a oval formation, the dandelion petal does have a sort of square end, so you don't need to worry about having perfect ends. The ends are all different. You can see that they're all different, and some of the verticals are even, well, the central parts of the dandelion or even spiked in shape. So now we've got the ones coming down. So leave gaps in between your mark making so that we can see some of those petals. You might want to make it a little bit bigger than I've made it, like that. Okay, now you might then want to go, once you've got the main body of your dandelion painted, you might want to start using some darker and some lighter colours. So again, you could use the yellow ochre to darken up the yellow. You can see that happening there in the mixing. And you can go into maybe the central sections and just paint in some of those darker areas. You could even use orange, but I quite like the darker areas. So this is just now a process of darkening and lightening areas up with different sized brushes. So if you feel like you need to add more yellow in, then you can go in and just keep adding the cadmium yellow as it is. Okay, add the yellow ochre to darken sections up like that, and add a little bit of white to lighten sections up. You don't want too much. You don't want it to be white. You want it to be a pale yellow colour. And again, just be careful about your acrylics drying off on you. So you can put in some yellow, lighter sections like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this now. It is just a matter of adding until you're finished. You can add a little touch of white with your detailed brush into the stem and so on. I'm going to also paint a leaf, but I'm going to do this on time lapse so that you can watch it growing. Okay, and I'll come back to you after the time lapse. Okay, so there we have our finished dandelion. Just a few facts. The dandelion flower opens to greet the morning and closes in the evening to go to sleep. I thought that was really lovely. The name dandelion is taken from the French word dent de lion, meaning lion's tooth, referring to the coarsely toothed leaves. Dandelions have one of the longest flowering seasons of any plant, and the seeds can often be carried as many as 5 miles from their origin. As we all well know, they're everywhere, aren't they? But they're a really important source of food for the insects. So if you can resist mowing them or digging them up, then please do. They're a beautiful addition to the garden, and it's just a matter of not thinking of them as we do think of them, as weeds. So look after them, they'll look after the insects, and the insects will look after your garden. I hope you enjoy painting this dandelion in acrylic. Have a go in watercolour or any other medium if you fancy. Hope you've enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye for now.